Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Talkin Transition. And Talking Transition is all about sharing the lived experiences of teens and adults with autism. And so, in addition to that, we are bringing on and engaging providers and experts that are sharing resources with us and best practices on how to succeed during and after transition into adulthood. And so, today we are talking transition with Turqueya and Taliyah, and I hope I got that right this time. But our conversation today is going to be a little bit different because Taliyah experience is very different to where she was misdiagnosed with autism. So tell us the story of how Taliyah was how that diagnosis came about.
You got it, Dr. Zamora. So again, thank you for having Taliyah and myself on the show. So speaking from the parental lens, it has been quite an arduous journey. It is like striving to get on top of a mountain. You finally get there and that mountain grows. That has literally been experience. And so what does that look like strategically and practically? When she was in elementary school, she was diagnosed as needing a specialized individual educational plan, or IEP. Graduated from that, and we were told, oh no, Mom, you don't need an IEP. We were incorrect. Taliyah surpasses age and social skills performance level, right? This was in Wake County, North Carolina. And so then they moved us into more of what they call supportive tier structures. You can have up to 3 or 4 tiers in elementary school in Wake County. And as long as you surpass the scores and the grades with remedial support, you're okay. You pass on to the next grade. But as a mom, I can tell you, since she was an infant, she was different, socially different. Learning took breaking information down into small chunks and pauses and reiterations for her to really get it, right? So couple that with different speech impediments and learning styles, we, again, have been on quite the journey. So it actually took until she was in about 4th grade where we got a psychological analysis that let us know she has what's called executive functioning delays. And that was why it was challenging. They were like, no, she's not autistic, but it's actually right there with the same spectrum symptoms. And I'd argue that today it would be called autism, but we're in a different state, different process. And so we operate under what's called accommodation plans today, moving forward to her being an 11th grader. But it has been tenuous advocacy, right, to just keep the administrators and myself and the educators on the same page and Taliyah receiving what she needs. And so, of course, as we look forward to college now, we are still trying to figure out what does post-high school support look like, and we don't have those answers yet.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that through conversations like this that we can share and bring people to these platforms that will help parents, like yourself, to kind of plan that, because it happens so quickly, right? And then 2, I think for me as a mom, having or knowing what's ahead, because I'm a planner, I need a step A, B, C, and then if I need to pull an audible, there's that step D in there. And so I definitely would like to know. And so thank you for definitely sharing and helping us to understand. I think you're right. In today's age, if she was early diagnosed, in today they would sort of put her in that autism pool. But you're right, it is such a it's a spectrum. And so every child is different. And I definitely applaud you as a mom for kind of recognizing in the beginning. I'm one of those moms that I didn't recognize the signs because I felt like I was a little too close to the situation. My son is on a spectrum. So, and following guidance of pediatricians, things like that they just tell you, oh, give him a little time, things, will change. I didn't pick that up. So the fact that you were able to pick it up and then, kind of move in that advocacy mode. So that way that you are consistently pushing to get that support that they need, I think it's really good. But I love that the school provided that peer support, because I think that early on support helps to get kids in a flow of going to school. But then I feel like it sort of drops off as they matriculate to middle school and then to high school, because then they find themselves sort of on an island, right? Whereas they had a little, sea of support. So, well, how has your Taliyah, how has this experience impacted you? So you are an 11th grader now. Do you like school?
I do.
What's your favorite subject? All of
Science.
them? Science. So do you love math or not love math?
I used to, but not anymore.
Not
That's
anymore.
a separate story. But if I could just inject, so because Taliyah is a high performer, that's why that spectrum was so challenging, right, Dr. Zamora? And she is actually a straight A student, all things being equal. So like in COVID, where most people shrunk back, with her social anxiety, challenges or gaps, sometimes she became a straight A student. We learned her best learning style, so it was harder to go back in person to school. So the school thought they were helping her by putting her in AP math, the best subject she knew, and it was such a horrible process that you hear her. Now she no longer likes math, but that's because for her learning styles and accommodation needs, that was too much. That higher level was too much.
Yeah. Well, I would say stick with it, because math and science are like peanut butter and jelly. They go hand in hand, and you sort of can't have one without the other. But my favorite science, I love chemistry, just mixing things and watching them, sort of react to each other. And I also loved anytime we had to dissect something. I remember we dissected this little baby shark. Please, all of you advocates out there, it was for science, for the love of science. It was research, right? And so just kind of having those experiences, I think, kind of shaped my love for learning. So how did your experience shape things for you in school?
Well, any work that I didn't get finished, I would stay up at night trying to get it done and losing sleep and stuff.
So time.
Yeah, time.
Extended time is her biggest accommodation, and spatial learning. And about the note taking, how that works.
Oh yeah, so in class I would take notes and I would use different colors, especially if there were words that I had to memorize, and I'll put the words in different colors to help me memorize them and stuff like that.
So
I think that's awesome, because it teaches. I would argue you have really good study skills. Some probably that most kids would probably be lacking today, because things are so different and how they're taught. So I think as you prepare to go to college, you're going to probably be more prepared than you actually think you will be. So I think that's really good. So did you, I would say, did the diagnosis, did it negatively impact your resources in a way? Do you feel like even today, Taliyah, do you feel like you have the support that you need to succeed in school?
I would say yes. Yes, I do.
But you want to answer the first part of that, because we talked a little bit about just vulnerability. I know it's hard to be on a platform like this, right? But talk about labeling. I think that's what Dr. Zamora is talking about. How do you interpret knowing that your learning is different? And how does that allow you or disallow you to engage with others? Into the camera.
It really just depends. It's hard.
Yeah. It's okay. Take your time. While you think about it, I'll tell you about my sort of things in school. So I'm a tall girl, as you know, and I've been this height since I was like 12, 13 years old. So I had some challenges sort of growing up in school. Definitely was teased and bullied a lot. And it definitely impacted how I learned, how I kind of navigated school. And so I found myself kind of staying to myself a little bit. But then I sort of found my tribe. I had a tribe of two. I don't know if we could consider that a tribe, but I had two really good friends, and there were other people around, but I only would really engage with them at certain points during school. So I sort of understand what that feels like to sort of be labeled and sort of have those things. And I had the resource learning plan also when I was actually started in elementary school. So definitely understand what that was like. But I'll tell you, my school, I didn't feel like I always got the support growing up. But then, like your mom, my mom found a way to sort of get me those things that I needed. And so you sort of kind of too seem like you are a person that is self-sufficient in a way that you're self-motivating. So even if things are not the way that they should be, it seems like you would find a way. Is that true? Is that a true assessment? Because based off of the lady sitting next to you, I feel like you're raised to be like that. What do you think?
So yes, a good word for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And don't be shy. Share your crown with Dr. Zamora. It's uncomfortable, right, to be labeled anything. I too am tall, Dr. Zamora, as you know. I've been this height since third grade, and Taliayh likewise has been nearly 6 foot since third, fourth grade. So we are all in that same difference as far as physical space for maturity and expectation based on other people's perceptions, right? So
yeah,
I know that was Taliyah, and let's talk about how different it looks from elementary school where you had no language or tools compared to now. What does that resilience journey look like? How do you cope with accepting that you're different and owning it as opposed to being hindered by it in the past?
I think, like Ms. Samara had said, I found a group of people who accepted me for who I am and didn't judge me. And that gave me the confidence to be like, it doesn't matter if these other people don't like me because I found my people who accept me for who I am.
Yeah.
And who I am.
But just to be clear, we're all different in some way, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And so whether we have a learning difference, Dr. Zamora, right, that's Taliyah's space of difference, or whether we have the physical difference, or growing up Jamaican American, people thought I was different, right? We're more accepting culturally today than we certainly were in the 80s and 90s. But that was a label of difference for me too. And so what ownership or self-love, I think, is the foundation of it all. When you can say but it's
my difference is beautiful.
Right. When you can own that, you're on your way transformational.
I love that. My different is beautiful because we definitely live in a world that tries to box us in and think that it should beauty is only XYZ, and if you don't have XYZ, then somehow there's something wrong with you. If you my daughter, she'll probably choke me if I say this, but I'm going to say it because she's not in the room. But her thing is like, oh my goodness, I don't like pink. What does that mean? And I'm just like, me, I love pink, but then I wear all black most days. So, like that's my thing. But sometimes people will sort of look at you and say, okay, well, you don't fit that box. Like I said, and that somehow you're different. But no, tell me about my different is beautiful. What is that? Because I sort of got a little chill when you said it. What is my different is beautiful? Because that really resonated with me. So tell me about that.
So my difference is beautiful with the business that I'm trying to create. I created it because I wanted to make my pain from the past into a purpose, and I want people to learn from my experience and know that they're loved and learn how to love themselves, and that everyone is different and that's okay.
Yes.
I love that part, right, Dr. Zamora? And I raised my kids to be globally aware and accepting, right? In North Carolina, we were in an IB baccalaureate program, so we brought different cultures into the learning space. And I would argue collectively with having our Jamaican background that it just gave them a more objective lens. And so that spread the mindset of what holding space, though different, looks like. And so for me, this is a circle moment for her to own her past pain. And I say past as in no language, no understanding, but giving it language and ownership today. It doesn't necessarily go away, but when we change, our situations change, right, Taliayh? And so I'm just very proud of that tallness in her, not her physical tallness, but that self-acceptance tallness today. And and I can tell you, for the light, anyone who's around her feels that nurture, and that doubly helps the mission to create space for others to feel welcomed and loved. So
yeah, no, I think that is so important. I'll tell you, an organization like this, Taliyah, you're going to change the life for some girl that's looking up to you, because it's difficult, and you never know what they go through, right? Just by looking at them. You never know what their experiences are. You never know if they're hurting or they have some sort of experience that sort of reshaped their outlook on life. So my question is, what do you see? How do you see My Different is Beautiful supporting the community? So you talked about, creating space for other young girls that are different. So what are some of the things you would like to do within your community to help other kids?
you want to tell her about the fashion part? You can tell her about any part. That's my favorite.
Are we talking
part.
about fashion? Their fashions? I'm interested now. What's that about?
Is it about making shirts?
No, I just meant, so because My Different is Beautiful, one of the initiatives, we haven't launched it yet because this is something that started as an ideation that we're still building upon, right? So we're still finding advocacy and organizations that she can be the spokesperson for. And I know our Chesterfield Chamber has invited her to an October speaking event, which we're really excited about. And then some of our other neurodiverse allies have taken interest. But the fashion show, Dr. Zamora, so Taliyah is theatrical, artistic, and she wants to be a model. And so one of the things is bringing difference visibly to hold space for people to tell their different stories. So it's like two parts. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope no one watches this tries.
So is this something? I mean, I could walk. No, I'm joking. Those days are over. I mean, if you need somebody to hand out flyers, but how is this something that you all are going to put on yourselves?
Yeah. She's actually, what's your goal this year? Dr. Zamora, talk about goals. What's one goal for you this year related to models and fashion?
A passion. Well, getting ready for a passion.
Which one?
Miss
Teen Virginia. Yeah, we're about to put
Teen Virginia. So that's interesting. So we have another beauty pageant girl. So last our episode 2, we talked to Emmeline Sawyers, who is running for Miss Virginia. So we have to connect you with her. And Emmeline, she's on the spectrum, and she found out that she was on the spectrum like right before her 18th birthday. So she is right now the reigning title holder for Miss Farkier, and I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong. Forgive me. And she is competing for, like I said, Miss Virginia. So yeah, I'll definitely love to connect the two of you because I'm all about connecting people, you know. So that would be awesome.
Their platform, and for her platform is literally her walk, and so I'm excited. However it unfolds, it's going to be nothing short of beautiful. So
yeah, I agree. And however we can support you at Thrive with ARTIE, definitely let us know how we can support, because we're all about community outreach and engagement. And that's, you know, this podcast is just a small part of that. But we even though, you know, we are a technology company, and we have this product, but I think that advocacy and awareness is a bigger part of the mission. So it's not just, hey, we created this great tool that I think will work, but it's about having these conversations and bringing awareness. Because when my son was diagnosed, I didn't know anything about autism. And so I am still learning. He's 12 years old. And so we have, you know, to move forward. So I think it's all about creating community. And so, you know, what do I expect as, you know, for him as a ninth grader or, you know, 10th grader? Now, you know, when he gets to that point where he is looking to go to college and move forward, like what, you know, I need a support system. So I'll tell you, I'm putting in early. I'm putting in my time early. So paying it forward early in hopes to collect, right? on the back end. So, well, let me ask you this question. Mom, what advice do you have for other moms that are sitting there trying to figure out, trying to get a diagnosis and trying to operate in this space? What advice, what support do you give them? Because I'll tell you, for me, there were a lot of tears, lots of frustration, and sometimes I feel like being a mother of a child with different needs, it can be a very lonely existence, because your family and friends don't really see everything you're going through. They see someone that is healthy, that's smiling, that's doing all these things, but they don't really know the other side of what it looks like. And so what advice do you give them, especially when they're feeling, when they're at that breaking point, I'm feeling a little bit hopeless. What do you say to that parent?
yeah, give yourself grace, is what I say first and foremost. Like, as mothers, we're birthed with, I think, an innate capacity, unmeasured, untouched, to truly feel what our children need. So even though you have subject matter experts, even though you have practitioners, there is no single being who knows everything. So trust yourself, let that voice speak loudly, and advocate for you and your child, even when you have to stand alone for a little while. Because I have learned, Dr. Zamora, that we can do anything for a little while. It's uncomfortable, but as we travail forward, find a community, you find resources, you find support, you find peace, you find acceptance, you find nurture, you find forgiveness. Because if I'm being honest, we wonder if somehow we give it to our children, right? Not knowing what we know. And so it's important to know that, no, we're just all different, and we all have variances of difference. And this just happens to be the one we're dealing with as a parent or a child or a community. And I'll tell you, even today, we have family members in denial of difference. But that's why I said earlier, and let Taliayh say, that self-acceptance is huge. Because when you can own your difference, it's beautiful. It's when you repel it, when you don't give it made and language, that it haunts you and it cripples you and it stifles your ability to move forward, right? So own it, give yourself grace, and continue to seek answers and support.
Yeah, right? I think that's great advice, because it is it is something that we're dealing with the rest of our lives. Like, right, there are different levels to this, as they say. And so it's something that we're always going to be dealing with. And I love that the self-acceptance part. But you know what, you said something and really made me think about, it's not only just about the forgiveness and giving yourself grace, but I think you have to be brave enough to ask for the help and understand that, you're not on an island, that there are people out there that will support. And I'll tell you, there for me, there was, like you say, you feel like you give it to your child. So it took me a long time to sort of forgive myself about, what my journey was. And I'll tell you, there's a element of shame that for me that was on top of that. Most people may not feel it, but it was just like, how do I, explain this, or I don't know. So you sort of, you don't share your experiences, or you're consistently apologizing for your child or different things like that. So I think, being brave enough to step outside of your world and into a world that is providing support out in the open, I think that's a big part of it too. So thank you. I think that's great advice. So Taliayh, what does the future hold for you? What do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a lot of stuff. I want to be a model, an actor.
A philanthropist, clearly. She doesn't get it, but when you start like this, it continues and has a ripple effect of positivity. So,
yes.
Definitely. Did you hear it, Dr. Zamora? She said it.
I heard.
I think we have a show.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, I agree with you, Mom. I think starting out early, you're on a path of a lifelong path of advocacy and giving back. And it's like, when it's a part of you, it's a part of you. You'll find a way to do it, whether you're doing it individually or as a part of a bigger organization. So one last question for you, Taliayh. You're back in the hot seat. Okay. What's one piece of advice that you would give to another young lady or young man in your position? Like what advice would you give to them?
Biggest lesson you've learned you could maybe tell your younger self.
Know your worth, really. It might take some time, but I know that they will get there and find that self-worth.
I love that. Know your worth. And it's all about too self-discovery. Knowing what you like, what you don't like, and advocating for yourself. So this has been really good. I have definitely enjoyed talking to you both. And whenever, my Different is Beautiful officially launches, definitely let us know. We here at Thrive with ARTIE, we're ready to support in whatever way that we can. So thank you guys so much for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And thank you for this platform, for the work that you do. It's so needed.
Thank you.